Welcome to Simply Sports, the show where we simplify the rules of sports so you can enjoy the game. I'm your host, Violet Raftery, and today's episode is all about rugby. We're here at Bluff Field where we interviewed the women's club rugby team to explain the rules of the game.
So the object of the game is to score more tries than the other team. It's pretty much similar to football with touchdowns. It's pretty comparable.
We use cleats and mouth guards, and we have rugby shorts that are specifically designed to not rip, and they're tough, especially during lineouts when we lift girls up by them. So we have special rugby shorts, we have cleats that are just standard cleats, and a mouth guard.
No, you're allowed to wear, it's called a scrum cap, but no one on our team does. It's pretty rare. Normally locks will be the ones that wear those to prevent cauliflower ear and stuff like that, but normally no.
You score a point by getting it in your team's try zone at the end of the field.
Yeah, so for a try, for us, is equivalent to a touchdown. We have to put it in our end zone, which we call a try zone, and you have to place the ball down within the try zone. So that's a little bit different, is that you actually have to place it down, and then wherever you place it down is where you kick your conversion kick from, which is worth 2 points. The try is worth 5, and then your conversion kick is in line with where you place the ball down. So yeah. And then the drop goal is 3 points if you kick it into the uprights during a game.
We compare it to soccer and football. The ball some people think it's shaped like a football. It kind of is. It's way bigger. And then soccer, some of the positioning on the fields and when the ball goes out, it has some of the same positioning, but it is really kind of in its own little category. It's different than all the rest, but kind of same similar guidelines like football, soccer.
Men's rugby and women's rugby are exactly the same rules.
The only difference is that women are sometimes allowed to wear leggings, and that's just so that women of all religions can play.
Match is 2 40-minute halves in 15s. We play 15s in the fall and we play 7s in the spring. In 7s, you have 7 people on a field, and it's 2 7-minute halves equals a 14-minute game. And in 15s, we have 15 players on the field. It's 2 40-minute halves equals 80 minutes.
So we refer to it as a pitch. There's a try zone, so it's like a touchdown, like an end zone, and then you have different yardage points, but as far as different points of play, not really. You have 2 halves, and then you have your 22s, and then near the sidelines you have your 5-yard marker, but that's just so that you know where to stand during lineouts. So it's actually pretty much identical to field goalposts in football. So you have forwards and backs, and then within those 2 categories you have your specific positions.
So typically a forward is just someone that is bigger, stronger, but it doesn't necessarily depend on your body type. It's kind of just what your strong suit is in rugby, but it is somewhat physical based. And then so in rugby our positions are our numbers. And so our 1, 2, and 3 are our loose head prop, our hooker, and our tight head prop. 4 and 5 are our locks, and 6 and 7 are our flankers, and then there's our 8 men, and that's everybody that's in the scrum. And so those are our forwards, and then everybody else, 9 through 15, are backs.
But as far as your backs go, you're going to have your fly half, you're going to have an inside and an outside center, and then you're going to have your left and right wing, and then in the back you're going to have a fullback who acts as a safety in football.
We don't have a goalie, but we have a fullback, and so the fullback plays basically a little bit behind the rest of the back line, and they're there to make sure that if someone was to make a breakthrough, then they can catch the player that's running. And so they're kind of watching the whole field, and they're also calling out where you need to be on the field, or if you need to move left or move right. So yeah.
So we pass backwards, which is part of what makes rugby unique. So we pass the ball backwards, and we use that to get it down the field. And we generally call it getting steep, and so we form almost like a diagonal line down the field. You are allowed to kick the ball. That's the only time you're allowed to move the ball forwards, because otherwise it has to go backwards. If you hit it on accidentally, that's called a knock-on, and that's a penalty, which leads to a scrum. Generally, our forwards' job is to carry the ball and bring it into contact, while our backs are usually fighting for more space along the wings in order to gain ground. But forwards are usually going into more of those contact situations and gaining ground down the middle of the field, while the backs are on the wings. So a scrum happens usually anytime a penalty occurs, and after that the forwards bind together. So there's 3 people in the front, a loose head prop, a hooker, and a tight head prop, and then 2 locks in between those, a flankers on the sides, and then an 8-man in the back. We bind together with the opposing team, and the ball gets rolled in from the side, and our hookers compete with their feet to get the ball back through the scrum to their side. Rucking occurs anytime there's a breakdown. So after a tackle happens, you are allowed to ruck and counter ruck. And so in order to, when you fall down after you get tackled, you have to place the ball backwards back to your team. You present the ball, and then your team should come up and secure onto you so that the other team can't come through and poach the ball. Because if you don't secure the ruck, when your team is on offense, the defense can counter ruck and come through and poach the ball. And then a maul is something that happens generally when you're close to your try zone. It's almost a pseudo scrum, and it happens to gain yards down the field. Lineout happens when the ball goes out of bounds by either being tackled or kicked out, and the offensive side sets how many people are in the lineout. But there are always at least three. So there's always at least three people. The hooker throws the ball in, and then there's three people inbounds. There's a front lifter and a back lifter, and then one person in between them, usually someone tall. And we lift them up, and they catch the ball in the air. The opposing side has the same. So the two sides both lift girls up, and then they have to catch the ball through that is thrown into the middle of the channel, which is what we call the space in between.
Tackling is allowed. It's recommended basically, but you're doing it when like the other team has the ball. You're tackling the player with the ball. You don't tackle someone if they don't have the ball. That is a high tackle, and you will get penalized for that.
We compete all throughout the Southeast against teams within the SARC and outside the SARC, which is the South Atlantic Rugby Conference, and then we are under National Collegiate Rugby. But we compete all throughout the Southeast, and then when we play here at Bluff Road Fields, which is our home field across from Willie B, which is really nice. We're available on Garnet Gate, obviously, and my contact information is on there, but the best way of contacting us is probably Instagram, and our handle is Women's Cock Rugby, but we're also on Facebook.
Now, go enjoy a rugby match, and we'll see you next time on Simply Sports.